Hi, it's Chris Titley here. As part of the Scoreboard podcast series, today I'm joined by Bronte Barratt. Bronte, thank you so much for coming into the studio.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Bronte, 2024, we're sitting here in early December. How's your 2024 been?
It's been a big year for our family, really. Hasn't it just gone so fast?
I know.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
it's the 2nd or 3rd of December
Yeah,
now.
it's crazy. We've bought a house.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've sold a house. We've been overseas. We've been on lots of little holidays. So it's been a really busy time for our family. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old boy. They're quite demanding ages, I think. So,
Yes.
just busy, but yeah, loving it.
Moving house and selling a house and buying a house for the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old is, with all the open houses, must have been tough. And now you've settled in okay to the new house?
Yeah, we're loving it. We're in a really nice neighborhood. And yeah, we're really loving being here.
Excellent. Now, Bronte, I'm going to ask you about swimming, and obviously we can delve into some various events. But the Olympics was this year in 2024, and every 4 years it comes around, and there's talk about the swimmers again every 4 years. How does that make you feel, and particularly this year in an Olympic year?
Yeah, actually, I probably should have mentioned that in my 2024, because for me, an Olympic year is still a really big year, even though I'm not competing anymore. So I still am very invested in watching the Olympics and the Paralympics. And my husband's actually an Olympian too. So it's quite nice. We took time off work. We were actually moving house at the time. So we actually pretty much had 2 weeks of just watching the Olympics at home. And we can kind of reminisce together. It's actually a really special time. I get really emotional watching the Olympics, especially the swimming, not in like a sad way. I think it's more of a happy way. And I think the further I get away from retirement, I can really appreciate what I achieved as a swimmer and realize sort of how special it actually is. So I actually really, really enjoyed watching this year. Probably Tokyo, I had more emotions in terms of like, I really miss swimming. But this year I was probably more separated from everything and I was able to just really enjoy it.
And that relationship has changed. I think you were 17 when you broke the record, the 400-meter record.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
looking back now, with a significant gap from that, I mean, how does that make you feel, I suppose, now, in terms of a relationship? Is it distancing, you think, in terms of swimming, or is it sort of you staying quite close to it?
I've always stayed quite close to it. I'm sort of not one of those swimmers who retired and said, "Oh, I'm never going in a pool again." I actually really tried to stay involved in swimming. I still like to go for swims as fitness. So I still really, really love the sport. I love watching it. I love keeping up to date with results. I'm not sure if you've heard of the website SwimSwam, but it's kind of the go-to for swimming results. I still check that all the time. So I still really, really invested in swimming and I still love it. I think I will till the day I die.
Do you look at the times that the people do nowadays and compare to yourself?
Yeah, thank God that I'm not swimming anymore because I do the same events as Ariane Titmus. So, and she's much faster than I was. So, I kind of was finishing just as she was starting. So, I'm, I think I'm very grateful that I wasn't swimming at the same time.
Going back to your youth, when did you start first thinking about or enjoying swimming?
Um, I really liked it from the get-go, although apparently at Learn to Swim, I wasn't much of a fan. I was screaming and crying and trying to get out, but I've got 2 big brothers, and I can remember doing 12.5 meter races at swimming club when I was about 4 years old. And then my brother says he kind of knew that I was going to be a good swimmer when I started beating him, and he's 5 years older than me. So, yeah, really from when I was a little girl, I've always loved swimming. Knew that I was pretty good when I was in primary school, but obviously that, doesn't really mean anything. And then sort of going into high school, started to take things a bit more seriously and get some really good results. So pretty much my whole life, I've been into swimming and have thought of myself as a swimmer.
What do you think was the catalyst for you to love the sport so much?
Um, I mean, when you're a kid, I guess anything that you're good at, you probably gravitate towards. So for me, initially, it was probably being good at it. All my friends did swimming. I think growing up in Queensland, basically everyone starts as a swimmer. It's a real community vibe, swimming club every Friday night. So I just loved it. And then I think, yeah, just sort of going on and kind of getting good results without putting in too much effort when you're young is a really good feeling. Obviously, it gets harder as you get older, but I think that probably watching the 2000 Olympics, I remember we had a party at the Sanford Swimming Club to watch Kieran Perkins' 1500-meter swim.
Yep.
And I just have that really clear memory of watching that and being like, wow, that's what I want to do.
And you want to make it to the Olympics. That
Yeah.
was the goal of the little girl?
Yep, definitely. My granny went to the Olympics actually for long jump. So for me, I always had someone to aspire to, and that was my granny. So I always knew about the Olympics, and I guess every kid growing up, when they do sport, they say, "Oh, I want to go to the Olympics." But I think the dream really became real for me probably around 11, 12 years old when I watched Sydney on the TV.
And the choice of stroke, where did that come from? Did you try the others and went, "Oh, I'm not very good at that"?
Actually, when I was growing up, I did all strokes, and I was pretty good at most of them. I think my first individual gold medal was actually in medley. So I did do a lot of other strokes. I think probably my coach later on, actually not, I wasn't that old. I was only 16, but he saw a bit of a hole in the women's 4x200 free to make the Australian team, and so we kind of started focusing on that event a little bit. And it worked because I made my first team when I was 16 in the 4x2, and that was kind of a bit of a gap there, I guess, at that time. So that was, and also, they take top 6 for relays. So I came 6th and I made the team. So that's probably why I gravitated towards freestyle in the end.
And then the first Olympics, which was the successful Olympics for yourself in terms of the relay team that won that gold medal. Can you talk about that experience and why it was so special, and did it fulfill your young girl's dream?
Oh, I mean, I still can't believe that I got to experience that at my first Olympics. Gold medal, world record. I think what made it so special was it was with 3 other Queensland girls that I'd grown up racing. I was actually rooming with Steph Rice. Obviously, she had a super successful meet. Kylie Palmer and I were training partners at the time. I'd grown up racing Linda McKenzie, and then it was really unexpected. So I think that was probably the best thing about it. We didn't go into it as favourites. We actually almost missed the final. We only qualified by, I think, about 0.1 into the final. We were maybe expecting to come away with a medal. And then, to sort of win by, I think we won by about 3 or 4 seconds. We broke the world record by 6 seconds. I can still remember that day like it was yesterday. Just pure excitement. Probably still one of the best days of my life for sure.
The memories of the race and everything that went through it, going through your head, do you remember it?
Not particularly the race. That's a bit of a blur. I mean, I've seen lots of footage of it. I think I probably more remember the celebration afterwards. I still get really nervous for relays, but it's a very different nerve being in an individual race as opposed to a relay. So it really helped being around my friends. In a relay, you still have to just swim your individual race. And biggest thing really in relays is to just not false start. So that's probably the main thing that you're thinking about, like just don't dive in early because that's happened, several times. So I think, I don't quite remember the race, but I do really remember the emotions afterwards, just pure elation. We were just so shocked and being able to celebrate with friends and stuff is really, really exciting.
Just touching on that, the false start or something, or someone doing something in the relay that goes wrong. Have you had that leading up to the events, or have you had that experience before to know that now you just can't like jump off line early?
I haven't had it at a huge international meet, false starting. I mean, lots of Australian teams have. Lucky I haven't been in a team. But actually a really strong memory of mine is at QG swimming, which was really important to me in high school. Our team won and we got disqualified because someone false started. That was when I was in about grade 9. So even just that memory has really sort of scarred me. And just every relay camp that you go to, it's just like safe changeovers. That's the main thing.
And the dynamics of a relay team versus also people competing individually. How much time do you get to train together, spend time off the outside of the pool, do things, or is it all kind of like come together, a couple of sessions, away you go?
Yeah, it's pretty come together at the last moment because you don't really know who's going to be in the team usually until after the heats have been swum. But in the camp, in the pre-camp, before the major meet, all of the people who are eligible for relays will have a few sessions together to work on changeovers. And so you just try lots of different combinations just in case you make that relay team. So no one really gets to practice their changeovers all the time. But when we do get together as a team, that's when you get to work on them.
So your childhood dream is to make the Olympics. You made the Olympics, your first Olympics. You win a gold medal in your first Olympics. You break a world record in your first Olympics, and then you stop and you're like, okay, there's a bit of time off, but then you compete in 2 other Olympics, right? So how did you go about picking yourself up from the highest highs in your sport to then go, right, let's get back in the pool?
Yeah, I suppose for me, growing up, the goal is to make the Olympics, but probably the other goal is to win an individual Olympic medal in swimming. So individually in Beijing, I didn't actually perform how I would have liked. So I came 7th in both the 200 and the 400 free. So for me, individually, I didn't really do the results that I had hoped for, even though the relay was incredible. So for me, it was all about coming back and trying to maybe win an individual medal in London. Had lots of shoulder issues pretty much from after Beijing through till the rest of my career. So things changed a bit where I just really had to focus on rehab and keeping my body together and things like that. So it was quite a different cycle between, like, before Beijing, I was just 16. I was so young. It's that time where you do PBs every time you jump in the water. Everything's just fun, easy. And then things got a bit more serious, I guess, post Beijing. And I had different goals. And yeah, for me, leading into London, I guess, yeah, for me, winning an individual medal would be the next goal, other than winning a relay medal.
And the mindset of an Olympian from one Olympics to another is obviously 4 years, and there's a goal there. Are you a goal setter?
Yeah, definitely. I think most elite athletes that you talk to will have, especially in a time-based sport like swimming, you know the exact time that you want to achieve to get certain results, and you know the exact time that you need to do for every single lap, every single turn, every single start. So you're very, very goal-orientated in swimming. So yeah, definitely set goal times for each season, and then you break down your race on how you're going to achieve that goal.
And then through that period of the 4 years, maybe year one in, you're racing, and there's always in the back of your mind that it's about the Olympics. It's about the Olympics. But then you come to the podium on the Olympics. How are you feeling? Did you pump yourself up, or were you just calm, going, "This is just give it my best shot because I've done the preparation"?
Before the race,
Yes.
I guess it depends on the preparation. I guess when you're on the blocks at the time, it's really only the last preparation you've had that counts, not really the last 3 or 4 years. So for me, I guess leading into London, I was feeling really confident with my preparation, although dealing with lots of shoulder issues again, but still feeling really fit and fast. And for me, going into a race, just having to trust that you've done the work and that you can't actually really do anything more on race day, except for the mental game, which is for me was just staying relaxed and focusing on my race and not focusing on results.
And how did you do that? Sorry, it's enormous pressure, but to actually just focus on saying that this is just go out there and be the best I can. Were you nervous?
Oh, so nervous. That was something that I had to work really, really hard on throughout my career because I got really nervous. So I actually worked with a sports psychologist a fair bit. And there was definitely things I did in the marshalling area. So I'd work on my breathing, and then I'd have a few words that I would kind of repeat to myself before the race and even during the race. And that was sort of a technique that I used to try and get the best out of myself.
And then in the pool, when you are swimming, the words are going through your head. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I think this was probably more so in Rio. I can't remember them now actually, but I had a word sort of almost per lap that I was saying to myself that I was focusing on. So the first lap might have been, I think it was like long and strong, like keeping your stroke long and strong.
Would you say it like 10 times in your head?
Yeah, just as you're
Really?
swimming.
And then you change laps and change the word?
Yeah, I did that a few times. Yeah, and then I honestly I can't remember now. It was 8 years ago, but yeah, that sort of worked for me because otherwise you kind of start focusing on the wrong things, like, you know, oh, what's that person doing? Oh, that she's beating me.
Yeah.
Or,
Do you
and
look
things
in
like
the?
that.
Do you take a peek?
Oh, definitely. In freestyle, I mean, you're breathing. I used to breathe to one
Is
side.
that a thing you should do, or is it kind of like is it
Oh,
people do?
That's definitely a thing where you should stick to your own lane, like, you know, literally and metaphorically. But in freestyle, you can obviously see when you breathe. So you can definitely see where everyone is. And we'd definitely be having a look. Yeah.
Before we touch on Rio, London compared to Beijing, obviously it's very the personal achievement achieved there as well in the individual. How do you compare those two Olympics before we get to 16?
I feel like I can't really compare them because I feel like all 3 Olympics that I went to, I was such a different person at each one of them. And I had such different goals that they were all so unique in their own way. But for me, London, again, I'd had a much tougher 3 or 4 years leading into London. Like I swam terribly in all of the years leading into London. And I managed to kind of pick myself back up for London. And actually, probably the most proud of myself at the London Olympics was getting that individual bronze medal. Because for me, what most people don't know is I swam the 400 on the first day, and that's actually what I'd mainly been training for. And I really wanted to get a medal in the 400 free. I missed the final. So I was devastated. That was on the first day of competition. And I guess the thing that I'm most proud of is that I picked myself up and was able to kind of put that to the side and concentrate on the 200 free. And then I definitely wasn't ranked top 3 in the world or anything in that 200 free, and I managed to get my hand on the wall for bronze. So for me, winning bronze honestly felt like a gold medal. It felt the same elation that I felt winning the relay medal in Beijing. So I was really, really happy with London with winning that individual medal.
When you touch the wall as a swimmer and you look up, do you have any idea where you are in the race?
Yeah, you definitely, again, you can see people around you. I had Alison Schmidt next to me who won the gold medal, and her feet were at my face. So I knew that I hadn't won gold. But I knew that I was probably somewhere up there. But also you can kind of tell with just how your body's feeling, like whether you have the energy to really go at the end. And I felt like I did. And but yeah, you really don't know until you hit the wall and turn around and have a look at the scoreboard.
And when you looked around at the scoreboard and you saw bronze,
Yeah.
Describe that moment.
Oh, I was so excited. I think I was jumping all over everyone, jumping all over Alison Schmidt, who won the gold medal. And I was just as excited as her. Yeah, just really, really special. And all of my family came to London. So it was really, really exciting to have them in the stands and to be able to celebrate with them. I think they had the biggest night of their life after that as well.
And then Rio. I mean, to do 3 is incredible. How did you describe Rio again in South America versus London versus China?
Yeah, so really, really different experience at all of my 3 Olympics. Again, Rio was so different. By that stage, I was 27, and in swimming, that's considered, a bit of an older athlete. And by then, I was definitely probably mentally, I'd been on the team since I was 16. So I was probably hanging by a thread mentally by the time I got to Rio. I knew it was going to be my last games. And I actually hadn't done a PB in the 200 freestyle. So by Rio, I wasn't competing in the 400 anymore. I just couldn't do the training required for a 400 freestyle because of my shoulders. And again, I really swam really badly in 2015. Probably thought almost about giving it away then. And then, so I hadn't done a PB since 2011 in the 200 free, leading into the Rio Games. And so for me, the ultimate goal was just finishing my career with a PB in that 200 freestyle. And yeah, went through the heats, just made it into the final, did the semis. I just scraped into the final in lane 8. And then I managed to do a PB by 0.5. So again, it doesn't seem like from the outside, I think I came 5th. But it was the fastest final that had ever been at an Olympic Games at that stage. It was a really quick final. I came 5th. And I did a PB by 0.5. So again, I was ecstatic. You could have, from the outside, it probably looked like I'd won gold again. And I was next to Emma McKeon in that race, and she got her first individual Olympic medal in that race, and she was stoked, and we were training partners. So it's actually a really, really special moment getting 5th in Rio.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. And you mentioned lane 8. Is that a bogey lane, or is that kind of everyone doesn't like lane 8?
Oh, I think everyone's really different. I actually quite liked lane 8. I just sometimes liked being a little bit away from the middle of the pool. Obviously, it feels good being in the middle of the pool, fastest qualifier, things like that. But for me, I just wanted to try and focus on my own race. And I was next to Emma. She was in lane 7. I was in lane 8. So it was actually quite nice being out in lane 7 and lane 8. We could kind of just focus on our own race and just sort of felt like I was doing a training swim, really.
Before we get to life post-swimming, the 200 versus 400, how do you describe both?
Oh, I think I was always probably more of a fan of the 200 just because it was shorter, I guess. Very different pain. I think the 200 is shorter. It's, around 2 minutes of pain, a lot more lactate probably in your system. It's shorter, sharper. And now you pretty much have to sprint the entire 200, whereas the 400, you can probably pace yourself a little bit more. But probably the 400 free makes you feel like you got to vomit a bit more. But it's just longer, and it's just that more kind of like endurance lactate pain. But probably more of a fan of the 200 free.
But then the training also for the 400 is a little bit more intense in terms of maybe vomiting and training and things like that. But how did you go with training? Did you enjoy training?
I actually really enjoyed training most of the time. I think, yeah, I really liked at the start of our season, which was almost probably around this time of year, December, we'd sort of get in and do some really, really hard work before all of the racing started in the new year. And I really liked that phase. I liked getting in and working hard. I always had really good relationship with my coaches, really good squads to train with. So I actually really enjoyed the training part as well as the racing part.
And then finishing Rio, 3-time Olympian, gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal, and another medal as well. Fourth medal, was that what medal?
Yeah, relayed silver.
Relay silver. So
Yep.
2 silvers, a gold, and a bronze, and then going, right, what now? How did that go?
Yeah, it's a pretty scary thing actually. While I was racing in Rio, I really had to sort of put it to the side and not think about that was going to be my last racing, because otherwise I would have been too emotional. But yeah, so I finished swimming in 2016. I had a year left on my degree of medical imaging. But I actually did a 6-month internship at EY straight after Rio, which is probably the best thing that I could have done post swimming. I was given the opportunity, just because it gave me structure and routine and almost like a new little community to be a part of post swimming. Because I think that's the hardest bit when you finish sport. You go from seeing people with these incredible goals, work ethic, 6-7 hours a day. You've got someone always sort of telling you what to do. You've got your coach telling you what to do. You've got your physio, your massage, everyone kind of working for you. And then you kind of finish and you just don't see anyone anymore and you're by yourself. So for me, doing that internship at EY really, really helped with that kind of transition phase, I guess. And then I finished off my uni degree the next year, and then I started work as a radiographer in 2018.
Fantastic. And you're still a radiographer?
And I'm still a radiographer now, yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And you're a mum as well, right?
am,
So
yeah.
the traits that you've learnt in professional sport and some of the values and principles, how difficult or easy is it to sort of translate that into your children and
Yeah,
some of
I
your
mean,
own habits now?
look, I think being a mum is probably a lot harder than being an elite athlete. Um, but yeah, definitely things like patience, hard work, time management, all of those things really transition into motherhood. And also anything post-career really, any jobs that you have or anything that you put your mind to. I think all the stuff that you learn as athletes is super, super helpful.
Mm. Patience is very interesting as a parent, and it tests you some of the time. Some other traits. Would you say that you're were you a superstitious person?
I had a few little things that I would be superstitious about. Like I'd usually, before I get on the blocks, I would kind of fix up my racing suit, and I'd always get on the blocks the same side and shake out my arms and legs and stuff before I dived into the pool. But apart from that, not super superstitious.
And then obviously competitive. Where do you think that came from your brothers early on, and that type of like I want to win, I want to be the best?
Yeah, I think probably being a third child, and the only girl, I sort of just had to keep up with the big boys from the get-go. So I think that definitely helped with maybe my resilience, and yeah, working hard to try and beat them. But I actually didn't really realize it at the time, but now if you'll ask other people, I think they probably say I got my competitiveness from my mum. She's quite competitive.
And then what about like structured? Like structured, obviously, as a swimmer, you have the preparation, you have all the different events that you know you're going to get to, and also times, etc. That taking that structure away into your life now, have you maintained some structure?
Yeah, I'm definitely a very structured person. I prefer that. And so, yeah, pretty much everything that I do in my life, yeah, I prefer structure. I'm not very spontaneous, which is probably something that I could work on. But for me, yeah, I actually really enjoy that routine and that structure and things like that. Yeah.
And when you were so young, in hindsight, winning all these medals and the press are in your face and there's a whole lot of media and everything, how did you cope with that?
Yeah, I struggled a little bit. I'm quite naturally shy and introverted, I would say. When I'm feeling quite good at something, I might be confident. But yeah, definitely I'm not, a big media personality or anything like that. I never sought that out. So yeah, I did struggle a little bit with those kind of things, and definitely had to work on that throughout my career. So yeah, I guess being a shy person is something that you need to work on also just as an athlete, because when you go out behind the blocks, you can't be feeling shy and intimidated. You have to sort of, even if you're not feeling it, you have to pretend that you're feeling really confident.
And then towards Rio, you were third-time Olympian. A lot of people would be first-time Olympian, so there was probably some leadership attributes. Do you think you were a leader?
Yeah, I was actually on the leadership team the last few years on the Dolphins. I was on the leadership team probably from 2013 to 2016, which I really enjoyed. So that was a really fulfilling part of the last few years of my career, was really being able to sort of help the younger athletes and lead by example. And I really enjoyed that aspect
And
too.
you mentioned your husband is Olympian as well. Did you meet him at the Olympics or during training, or where did that happen?
Yeah, I met him I met him on my first Australian team in Montreal. But yeah, we actually got together at the 2008 Olympics. So yeah, we did.
16 years ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So you've
That's
been
when
going
we
out for
first.
16 years. Yeah.
That's sort of when we first. Yeah.
Post the medals and stuff, or before?
Oh no, second week. Yeah,
So-
definitely.
I was going to say swimming is always in the first part of it, and then when you had the medals, what did you do with them for the 2 weeks? Did you have to guard them with?
Took them out to the clubs every night.
Yeah. And then what do you do with the medals now?
They are just in a cupboard at home, actually. Yeah.
Do you ever get them
Nothing
out?
too exciting. If I do talks at schools and swimming clubs and that kind of thing, I'll bring them out. I actually tried to show my kids this year when the Olympics were on, but they really didn't care at all. So they're a bit young.
They're a bit young, but then
Yeah.
obviously we get through it. And speaking of Olympics, we're having the Olympics year in 2032.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
So excited. Just it's so incredible to have the opportunity to have a home games. You know, if I was a 10, 11-year-old now, thinking about going to the Olympics and the potential that it could be at home, it would just be so exciting. Obviously lots of work to do for Brisbane, but I think just Brisbane over the next 8 years is just going to be absolutely booming. And I just can't wait to take our kids and to be able to watch the Olympics. And it's so good to have it in Brisbane.
Is there any other sports that you love to watch or be a part of that's not swimming?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a part of any other sports, but I love watching all sports, really. Really loved watching the athletics this year in Paris. I love watching the rowing. Pretty much, actually, I just love watching most Olympic sports. Yeah.
Individual sport versus team sport. Obviously, you've been a bit of both, being an individual and a part of a relay team. How do you? I suppose, which one do you love the most, or which one do you be a part of that you would encourage other kids to be part of?
Um, I mean, I think it just depends. I guess, swimming is an individual sport. And even when you're in a relay team, it's an individual race. So everything is really individual in swimming. But I never felt that way the whole time throughout my swimming career, because you train with people, 6, 7 hours a day. Your best friends are in the pool with you. So even though it's an individual sport, it's definitely not lonely. It's definitely a team orientated sport, even though you race individually. But yeah, definitely while I was racing, I thought, it'd be so fun to be part of a big team sport like hockey or something like that. So I think it's just whatever you gravitate towards and whatever you're good at. I can't really recommend either or.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Moving on to some more personality traits, I'm interested to know whether you're empathetic.
I think I am. I have to ask my husband and my friends, but I think that's actually probably one of my best traits, is that I am quite empathetic towards others. I think I took that into my racing career as well. I think I was quite a good loser, I would say. When you're growing up, it's really important to win well, but also to not win well. And I think that's probably something that my parents taught me and that I maintained throughout my career.
Resilient.
I definitely think I'm resilient. I think, you can't get to a really high level without being resilient as an athlete. I think the ability to kind of pick yourself up when you're down, to keep trying over and over again, I think is something that I definitely had while I was in my swimming career.
And with the injuries, did you ever think, oh, this is it, don't go back? Or was it always like, no, don't stop me now?
It definitely made things a lot harder. lot harder mentally. I think I remember I had shoulder surgery in 2009, and I remember my mum being like, "Oh, Bron, you might have to like pick up the uni a bit because this could be it. Like you might not ever swim that well again." And I was like so offended. I was so angry at her for kind of thinking that I might not be able to make it back to a certain level. But I guess she was just being real, which is really good in hindsight. Um, yeah, I didn't really have a time in my career that I wanted to give up until Rio when I knew it was just time. Yeah.
When you look back at your career, what do you think was what made Bronte Barratt better than others? What was the trait that you thought you mightn't be the strongest, or you mightn't do? Was there something out there that you thought, okay, now I am really good at this, and I'm going to double down on that?
Yeah, I think we probably already touched on it. I think it's almost that resilience, or I don't know the exact word, but it is the ability to
Perseverance.
maybe perseverance. Yeah, like the ability to kind of just keep going. Like I didn't really have, I didn't really have, heaps of ups and downs in my career in terms of like I wasn't motivated. I just always would get up and go training. I never snoozed my alarm. I never kind of woke up and thought, oh, I don't want to go training. I just kind of got up and did it. And I did that for a really, really sustained time. So I kind of think, I definitely wasn't the biggest, the fittest, the strongest. I had good technique. I think that was probably set me apart for a while. And then probably, things like persistence, resilience, work ethic, things like that.
And then moving forward now to the future, looking back 8 years since you've been in the Olympics and given up swimming, do people say, "Oh, Bronte Barratt, oh, that's the swimmer, it's the swimmer"? And how does that make you feel now? And do you want that forever, or is it something you want to be Bronte the mum or want to be Bronte the radiographer?
Look, most people go, "Oh, you're Bronte Campbell."
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
I go, "Oh no, not Bronte Campbell. I'm the other Bronte." But no, I do. When someone recognizes me for swimming, I do like it because it does make me feel like, oh wow, they must have watched when I was swimming. And a lot of people say, oh, like I remember that race or things like that. It does make me feel good, but it's not something that I kind of crave. I don't sort of walk around hoping that people will remember my swimming career. I think probably just, I guess for now it's really about being the best mum that I can, the best friend, the best wife, things like that. I'm really family orientated and things like that are really important to me. And I still have a little bit to do with swimming, and I'd love to probably get back into sport work-wise one day. So if I could kind of transition or merge my career as a radiographer and sort of go into sport, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I suppose there's a few creative juices flowing around how you can do that and be part of swimming as well as what you've studied in. Bronte, I'm going to leave it there, but thank you so much for being part of the Scoreboard podcast and coming in and having a chat and talking about your life as a young girl growing up to be in the Olympics, through the Olympics, and now post life, and where the next 10 years may lie for you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Chris.